Hello, Beauty News family. Welcome to another episode of Talking About Stuff. Now, we know that we hate it when influencers and the beauty industry lie to us, but what if we were to tell you that there is a makeup brand that has potentially been lying to us for 9 years?
So this is my favorite conspiracy theory in the beauty community. It's one that is buried deep, and it's not a new one. It's been going around for at least 4 or 5 years. And when you look it up, there's like one Reddit thread and our video from Beauty News from like 3 years ago briefly discussing it. So we thought it might be fun today to pull it out of the back of the closet and start chatting about, is this conspiracy plausible? And if it is, what does it mean?
So the theory is that McGrath Labs is using a high-end sex doll and animatronics face for doing their makeup demonstrations.
So if you go to the McGrath Labs Instagram page, you'll see these reoccurring eye tutorials and lip tutorials, and they've been going around for a long time. Now, I did a lot of scrolling last night. Took me a long time. I reached the bottom of it, and apparently the eye has been used since December 2016, and the mouth has potentially been used, I think it was like October 2017. So I think that there's two doll things going on here, which I'll break down in a second. But why are people thinking this? So firstly, there are some comments asking, is this like real or is this a doll? And the more I look into it, the more I am convinced that they are using artificial beings to do makeup tutorials on. Now, prior to these being posted, they just shared a lot of static images and a lot of just like fashion images. It's almost like they were really struggling finding maybe an artist or a influencer or something that would create these little tutorials for them to put up regularly. So they may have taken it to their own hands and bought some dolls or animatronic things to do it. Now, a lot of people debate this theory because the eye looks so real. The mouth is less convincing. So I think there's two dolls going on. I think the mouth is possibly a high-end silicone sex doll type thing. And I think the eye is actually like a really high-end animatronic sort of movie face. So, and the reason why I think this is, there's a couple of reasons why I think this is 100% accurate. One, they look exactly the same in each clip. And I can tell you, we've worked in, filming and YouTube for like 10 years now. It is very hard to set up the exact same shot from the exact same angle with a model every time, but these are exactly the same. So to me, it sounds a bit fishy. It's like they've set up this model with the camera and the lighting, they just turn it on and off we go. So that's why I think it's pretty accurate. And I will have a compilation. This took me too long last night to create a compilation of like, these are some of the eyes from the past year. And you can see that when the tutorial is done, and they're all obviously all of different lengths because the different eye looks are different in complexity, but they always do a thing where they look up and then sort of look away. And yes, it's slightly different, but it looks very, very similar, which to me seems almost robotic. And then the mouth sort of does something similar where it's sort of slightly open, and then once it's done, it sort of does this artificial like purse of the lips. So I believe that these are artificial. Also, if you think about it, I'm going to put one of the first videos of the eye versus the most recent one. Tell me if this person has aged. Because the answer is it's been 9 years, nearly. Has this person aged?
I think that is a really good argument for it as well. And I mean, look, we work in the beauty industry. We know how far some filler and Botox can go with slowing down the signs of aging. And I think it is also fair, we should play devil's advocate when we're talking about this and mention the fact that it looks like there is Vaseline smeared on the camera. The filter is so intense on these videos. And we do know that Pat McGrath Labs choose to use that filter to get that sort of hazy, sparkly effect that really shows off a lot of the formulas with her eyeshadows and her lip products. So that's fine. It is what it is. We know filters exist, and we do know that, you know, we can have all sorts of treatments done to our face to slow down aging. But the fact that the eye has not changed at all in those like nearly 10 years, that I don't know, that's kind of fishy to me. That's fishy.
I think so too. Yeah, look, when people have been, and again, when we talk about people, it's like two forums or something, because this is such a niche theory. But when people do discuss it, like, often the discussion is that the animatronic eye looks too high, like it looks too realistic to be artificial. Now, I have done a little bit of research into companies that make these, and I'll have a video of one on the screen. So essentially they can make them to be quite realistic, and they're made by special effects companies. So that's generally who makes them. And there's one in the UK that makes them, so it's probably not that far from Pat McGrath, who's based in the UK. So it is possible. And the video that I had on the screen was actually from around the same time that Pat McGrath started using this. So this is old technology. So it's just going to get better and better from here. But one thing that the eye does do that is odd is the pupil actually does look like it moves slightly. But I've been looking at this eye for hours last night, but it doesn't do it at the right time. So when you think about it, when you close your eyes and your eyes are covered in darkness, and then you open your eyes to the light, your pupil contracts. This one, I've got a video of, it actually looks like that when it's looking up, it actually dilates. So I feel like that it's not quite there, and there is something about it that it's like that uncanny valley where it looks quite realistic, but it's not quite there. But I think, look, I'm definitely leaning towards it. I think it's animatronic.
Yeah. I actually think something you said there really like rang true with me about like uncanny valley. There's something about it that just seems a little bit too unnatural, or like too perfect, or just not quite right. And maybe it's the filter and the fact that the eye has like no creases, and it's like it just looks so impossibly perfect that it just makes me feel like this doesn't feel real to me. It does feel like it could be an animatronic face. I think also it could be worth having a little bit of a discussion about like the animatronic face. And I mean, these things are expensive. I think Kat did some research, and I think you were saying like tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah.
Very expensive.
So, I mean, would Pat invest in something like that? I guess potentially you could think
saves
of
money
certain
with
situations.
models.
Correct, yes. And it's at your disposal at any time. You can literally sit it down on a bench and set up your camera and go about your business and film whatever look you want whenever you want. You don't have to organize for someone to, film it for you. You don't have to worry about proof watching their content. You just create it and put it up. Another point, Kat actually mentioned this to me, and I was like, I feel like that sounds like it could happen. Pat works very often in like the movie industry. She also does, lots of catwalk stuff we've seen over the years. And it wouldn't be like completely implausible that Pat may have been offered a head after doing some work. Maybe she knows someone. I'm sure she's done some special effects in TV. So it wouldn't surprise me if she was just given one.
Yeah, or like mates rates or something. Like they might have this cool head around. They're like, hey, this is a cool idea. It also makes more sense it being through a connection, because not only, like you said, the industry that they're in, but also because what happens if they spent tens of thousands of pounds on this animatronic head and then they were caught out and they stopped having to use it? Like, all of a sudden that's actually quite a bit of a waste. So like, it didn't happen. They're still going 9 years on, and like I looked and they have one of these videos up only within the last week, so they're still using it with their latest palette. So it paid off in droves, even if they bought it, even if they were gifted it, even if they got mates rates, whatever.
It's not completely implausible. I feel like if I was trying to get my hands on one, it would be
It'd be very hard.
reach. It would, it'd be very difficult. I wouldn't get any mates rates, but it makes sense to me, knowing Pat's background and where she works and what she does, that she may very well have some sort of access to this type of animatronic.
Yeah.
And as for sex dolls, I mean, anyone can buy them.
You can just order those online.
You can.
But I think it's funny though, because the thing that people comment most on about which one is real is the mouth. The mouth looks least realistic than the eye. However, I think what gives away the eye to me anyway is not only the sort of obvious movement that it does, but also the fact that it doesn't flinch. And when they're putting this makeup on, and they're doing it generally sped up so you can't see the fine movements of the eye, but the eye isn't flinching. There's no, like, they're not lining the waterline and the eye's like tearing up or anything. So the things that people usually do when they're getting prodded on the face. But also we found a comment, and we couldn't for the life of us find this video. We tried. Apparently someone remembers seeing a video where like the eye sort of got poked a bit and didn't flinch. And I don't know if that's real, because we couldn't find it. It could be that it was up and then Pat McGrath took it down. It could be that it was someone's imagination, whatever it was. But I feel like that sums up how this eye is sort of being perceived. It's actually not flinching and reacting to what's being put on it.
Yeah, I would really like to elaborate on this a little bit as well, because there's certain areas of the eye that are extremely sensitive to touch, and it's all related to basically protecting your eyeball so that you don't take damage to your eye. You can't really stop yourself from doing it. It is just the body's natural reaction. Exactly right. And it's anywhere over like near the pupil or the iris area. Anywhere around like the whites of the eyes is a lot less sensitive. But I feel like anytime you see them like drawing a pencil over the top of the iris, especially when the eyelid is sort of facing down, it's quite close to the pupil, I always feel like there should be some form of flinching there, and you rarely see it. And maybe it's good editing. Maybe there is flinching happening and they're cutting it out, but that's a lot. It's another one of those things that makes me think like Uncanny Valley. It's too perfect.
Yeah, I agree. Also, one thing that's interesting is that whenever there's a tutorial or an image or something that's posted up, the account will always put like the details in there. So the model's details or whatever happens to be. In every one of these, there is no tagging. So, and I've seen people even ask, whose eye is that? Who's the model for that? And also something that's interesting, it's always framed exactly the same way. I have seen times where they've used that eye shot to put on blush, for example, but they never bring it down. They always keep it framed to the eye and just show sort of around the eye where the blush is, which to me implies that maybe if you zoomed out, you'd realize that it's quite obviously animatronic. It's just that there's certain areas on it that look quite realistic. So it's a funny one, but I guess people might be watching this and going, who cares? Like, what's the point? And I do agree. Like, this is just a fun story that we felt like talking about.
Yeah,
it's fun.
All about
it's
the fun
for us to go down and like try to research animatronic things and sex dolls and whatever. It's fun. But I just want to say that a lot of people cancel influencers, brands, whatever it happens to be, for much less. So let's talk about, you know, people putting false lashes on and pretending it's mascara. Let's talk about people using filters and or even using Botox and injectables to change their face. People flip. They're like, I can't trust this creator anymore. I can't trust this brand. Now, if someone said, hey, these tutorials that showing how to use this product are actually on silicone and not skin, so you can never actually achieve that effect, no matter how hard you try, like as if that doesn't make a difference. That makes a huge difference, and it's been happening for 9 years. And one thing that I criticise Pat McGrath for time and time again is that they're really great at making beautiful swatch photos and like making their products seem so desirable. But then when you get them, they're never quite as good. And this could be one of the reasons for it. So it is deceptive marketing. And if this was an ad shown on TV, it would be illegal to do that. But because it's just on their Instagram page, it's possibly less severe, but it still has implications to the wider community and to the customers buying the products. So it might seem funny and trivial and like, who cares? But there is an impact of this.
Yeah. Was it L'Oreal or one of the big like drugstore brands was sued for using false lashes with their mascara advertising, and like it created a whole new law. Brands are no longer allowed to do that, or they have to disclose that they like the model is wearing enhancements or that the image has been edited to make it look more effective. So these sort of things can have an impact on like the greater industry. And personally, I don't care too much if Pat wants to use an animatronic. I actually think it's kind of cool. I think it's kind of like there's reasons why it would be really smart to do. But I would like to know. I think that's where it sits for me. I would at least like to know that. Whenever I look at Pat McGrath, like the products being advertised, I always know that my palette is not going to look like their swatches. My eye looks aren't going to come out like theirs. It's too filtered. It's too edited. It's too perfect. And they're selling a bit of a fantasy, and what I'm getting is like the obvious reality. So I already know that with Pat McGrath. I knew that when I first discovered the brand, and then I was like, well, maybe it is super special, so I'll buy some. And then I was like, no, I was right. Always listen to that gut. I think it's something people should at least know.
Yeah, look, I do agree with you entirely. Like, I have the same position as you, but I also don't think people should have to spend $200 on a palette to then realize that the marketing is false.
No.
I don't
Absolutely.
think is fair. And we went through
agree.
that. We bought a few Pat McGrath palettes and realized that, hang on, they're nowhere near the hype or what you see online. So I think it is important to make sure that you're being realistic with what your products can do, because it comes down to that could be someone's like food money for the next couple of weeks. So I feel like it's irresponsible to do that slightly. But I do agree with you. If you're going to use, and it reminds me of hair accounts that do styling, they can use hair models. It doesn't have to be real hair to demonstrate a point. So if they made light of it and they're like, this is Pam, our animatronic head, let's see the makeup look. Like if they made a point of it being like what it is, yeah, cool. Demonstrate it on a animatronic thing or a sex doll. Like, I don't care, because I do agree with you. Sometimes it's showing techniques and ideas of how to apply the product. It might, and then you can in your head adjust for, hang on, that's not skin, that's silicone, so it's not going to look the same way, but it gives me inspiration of how to do this ombre lip or whatever it happens to be. So if they called it out and they made it clear, I'd have no problem with it. I think what I find a bit cheeky about it is the fact that they are hiding it, and they're also just coasting through, like there's all these dramas that are popping up about people using filters and people using this and people using that, and they're still using their bloody silicone doll to show their looks like they're above it all and they're not going to be touched. Like it's just I just find it such an obscure thing to do.
I love it.
So odd.
I mean, if Pat McGrath came out, and said, our eye is from an animatronic, and, our lips. I will mention about the lips, just quickly. There are some that I genuinely believe are real people, because
yes, absolutely.
I feel like you can see, like, saliva and things in people's mouths, and that may be, I don't even want to think about if they're putting something in like a sex doll's mouth to make it look more realistic. Like, that makes me want to vomit. But like, if Pat came out and said, yep, we use an animatronic, or we use a silicone doll, or whatever we're using, I don't know. I would have more questions. I feel like, tell us where it came from. Tell us how you got it. Like, yeah, what do you do with it when you're done shooting? Like, how do you clean it?
Yeah, I was thinking that, how they clean it. That's one thing I was thinking about.
Yeah. So, you know, I think for me, it's a fun kind of thought to have. Like, there's so many questions. And like I said, I don't really care, but I would like to know. I did notice a lot of people were talking about, you know, when we were researching this, people were talking about, isn't it, like, don't you have to disclose your models and stuff like that? And just in case anyone else is having that thought, we should touch on it quickly. You don't technically have to disclose anything if you're paying someone to create the content for you. Mm-hmm. So if they are using a human model and paying them for it, they don't have to tell you who the model is or anything like that, who's editing the content, nothing. So there's that. But also maybe they're just using an animatronic head and saving a lot of money. They haven't given her a name yet.
Pam. I'm giving her the name Pam.
Pam. All right, guys. So we're going to leave that there. A little bit of fun food for thought for you. Feel free to let us know what you think on this one. And if you have any other fun beauty conspiracy theories that you've heard in the past, we want to hear all about them. Share them with us down in the comments. We hope you enjoyed it today.
If you find that eye-poking video,
oh my God,
send it to us.
Please. We searched for ages last night. We were both scrolling through that Instagram account looking for an eye being assaulted with a makeup brush. So if you find it, or if you find any videos that you think are very compelling for either the for or against the animatronic head theory, do send them to us over on Instagram. We'd love to see them. Thanks for joining us today, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.